Well, well, well.
Well. Here we are.
Here we are.
It's kind of the middle of the summer.
Yeah,
We
we're getting
are
close.
in the thick of things with the kids, in the middle of camps,
Yeah.
and
You always think it's going to be easier if you can just make it to summer. And then you get to summer and you're like, hold on. Everyone hold on for dear life.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's definitely been it's just a constant. We've got kids that are one of them's moved out,
Yeah.
one of them's about to move out,
Mm-hmm.
out of college. I know, believe it or not,
I
you don't
can't
look like you
believe
have
it.
any kids in college.
Right. I know. Neither do
Somebody
you.
confused you with your younger sister,
I
that you were
know.
younger than your younger
I
sister.
know. That
Yeah,
was
it's a
exciting
nice
this week.
compliment.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, if you could ever give a compliment to any woman, is just tell them they're younger and sincerely mean it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, and then we have a teenage daughter who is driving. So we're
Mm-hmm.
finding actually that we have more flexibility, but summertime we don't have a routine.
Well, and we're sharing two cars with three people right now, so that's also been another, interesting thing to navigate. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot more communication. We're learning how
yeah.
to communicate. They're learning how to communicate with us as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
So that's the fun of summertime.
Mm-hmm.
But we are just about to turn into July, and but God's been doing some amazing things in our lives in the
Yeah.
last few months that we haven't had a chance to really share or unpack. We thought it'd be
Right.
a good thing to unpack for songwriters as well. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned and takeaways to take from uh, the things you've been experiencing. I know you have a heart to share some things today.
Yeah. So, with our community, we always are bringing it before the Lord, asking for direction, and even just these tiny, slight changes
Hmm.
just, make such a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our heart for the community has been to maintain the purity of it all, make sure that that's where it stays.
Hmm.
Um, but I see so many parallels in the journey with this community and in my journey with the music business.
Yeah.
So I'll just bring to this one thing comes to mind and I'll just share it. This recurring dream that I've had for years. And I know the name of the dream. It's called the River of Resistance. And it happens the same way every time. There's slight changes that might happen every now and then. And it's wild to reread some of this because even right now, I'm going back through all of my journals, all the way back to 2016 when I started two-way journaling. And so rereading what God was doing in my life, I've already seen twice that dream come back up. Um, and what I'm doing right now, I just felt like the Lord told me in this season, go back and collect. Go back into your journals and collect what I've done, what I've said, devotionals, things that you see. We're going to use them in the future. So I'm sort of doing that right now. But part of that collecting is me finding what he said, and some of those I'm putting into song.
Mm.
And this is one of those things that I've written into song. But in that dream, the river of resistance, I feel like I'm just trying to cross this river, and it's so strong. The current is so strong that I have such a hard time getting across, and I can't figure out how to do it no matter how I try. And I know that my motives are pure. Like, I just want to get to that other side. And there's something in that, like, I'm called to do that. I'm called to get to the other side, but it feels impossible. And that current in my dream is the music industry. And as I've been writing this song, Ryan Hall's been writing it with me. Um, One of the things that comes in the end of that song is I realize that the river is a gift because it's partly how I'm going to grow, and it's what's going to make me gain strength um, in order to be able to cross.
Mm.
So I know that, and it's ironic because it's been paralleling kind of some of the conversations I've been having with the kids about, whatever you're called to do, you're going to see resistance in that place. And I think we have this expectation, at least I did when I was younger, that if I'm called to do something, doors will just keep opening and it's
Right.
going to be easy.
And that will mean that that's the direction you're supposed to go.
Exactly.
Just because doors are open.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess as I've grown older, I can clearly see it's not the open doors that mark necessarily where I'm supposed to go always. It's, if I could go back and tell my younger self, I would say, look for the most resistance. Look for the place with most resistance. And that's most likely where the enemy's coming against you, because you are supposed to keep going that path sometimes,
Well, there's a maturing in that, because
Yeah.
you when you're certain
Yeah.
of your purpose or your direction, and I think when we're younger, we're not certain.
Yeah. Right.
And so it's easier to look for those open doors.
Uh-huh.
But when I think you have a little more life experience and you walk with God longer, and you hear clearly and confirmation after confirmation that this is something that you're to do, that you're skilled at, that He's gifted you for, and it gives you life.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of other things that it brings for you that give you confidence. It lines up with Scripture. It's
Right.
There's a certain righteousness about what you're doing
Yeah.
that you're certain of.
Yeah, and it brings to mind like seasons where I was offered publishing deals, but I couldn't sleep at night.
Mm.
And I knew it was a no, even though that open door in the flesh makes total sense. Like, I'm a songwriter. Why would I say no to
Right.
an opportunity like that?
These are good people. This is,
Great
everything else
people,
lines up.
Everything made sense, but I didn't figure out why till much later.
Mhm.
Like little things like that where you go, okay, it's not just the open doors that indicate the path I'm supposed to go. Sometimes it's resistance, and sometimes it's the greatest place of resistance. So I've learned that through the years. I'm writing that into song. Excuse me. And then I see it even sometimes sprinkled in on our community side,
Mhm.
where we are fighting for purity. We just want this to be worship. We want hearts to be focused on presence, not opportunities, not platform. That's always been our heart for this community, and
Right.
really wanting to champion and raise up the next generations of songwriters, but with the right heart,
Mhm.
with that Levite heart, where it's worship, it's sacrifice, where it costs us something.
Mhm.
And, so when we see the Lord shifting us slightly, we need to pay attention to that, even if it's hard, right? Even if there's resistance there, because we know that's not going to scare us away from doing the right things anymore.
Right.
So, so we started feeling that a little bit with the community, the Lord calling us to shift slightly.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe part of it is to maintain the purity of what He's called us to do, and the hearts that we're gathering, wanting to keep that pure.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any thoughts about where we're shifting? Do you want to share that?
Yeah, I think the thing, just a side note, I've been meaning to say this. You have been, when you're dreaming at night, I've been hearing you.
Yeah.
You're going, like in a like affirming way.
Yeah.
It's like,
do I say any words?
You just say and then you turn. But it's like, and you lift your hand up sometimes. I see you do this.
Really?
Yeah, if I'm awake and I hear, you do it quite a bit. Like almost every night I hear you.
Wow.
It's almost like you're having a conversation either with someone else or with God.
Yeah.
Or something. But I haven't told you this yet, but that's
great. Wow.
That's really happening.
Wow.
And I often like wonder, oh man, I wish I could hear what conversation she's actually having.
You should say, what'd they say, Krissy?
I'm gonna.
Okay. All right. See if you can get more out of me.
Yeah, I need to pull it out of you. See, early on, I was the dreamer that was very active.
Oh yeah.
And you were having conversations with me.
Right.
Maybe
roles of
the roles
reversed.
have reversed.
Ooh, maybe you'll write down all my dreams in a journal
I
and we can laugh
might
at
and
it.
act them out, and everybody could
Yeah.
laugh.
Yeah.
No, but where we're headed is, I think we're seeing the river of resistance, and we're actually we're we're not stopped by it.
Right.
You know, it's something that we're not afraid
Yeah, not
of.
afraid anymore. Yeah.
It's more of we're in this together. Maybe you wrote a song today about, I just know, holding hands,
Right.
and maybe we're stronger, the three of us, you, me, and the Lord,
Yeah.
through the process. You're writing some stuff that is pretty intense,
Mhm.
just for you.
Mhm.
That is, you want to talk about that? I'm seeing that as a part of it,
Yeah.
not just for our community for writing worship, but I think for you as a songwriter,
Mhm.
you're pressing into some things that I think are, people would classify it as prophetic.
Mhm.
Where you're seeing things and you're experiencing things, but you're expressing it in song.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah,
know if you want to share
so
that
I
first.
think probably a lot of people have heard the song Out of the Woods that I
Mm-hmm.
did with Ryan Hall. And that was really after psalming, which I talk about a lot. It's just singing the Psalms after I had done that for over a decade.
Yeah.
And singing the Psalms, I felt like it was a training ground for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned how to write worship songs, and I learned more about the Lord's voice. I learned the language of worship. I learned structure. I learned patterns. So much from that over decades worth of singing them daily. And so at first, I just started singing straight through because I felt like that's what I needed to do to honor the scripture. And then I started finding little anchor lines, I called them, or hooks, where I pull those out um, and just repeat. I'd sing some and then repeat that hook, sing some, repeat the hook. And then third, I start taking those hooks out of the song, writing a new song with it until this one day where I wrote Out of the Woods, where I heard the Lord say, I want me to sing me your psalm today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it freaked me out. But, I'd been also two-way journaling. So writing my heart, my thoughts, and then listening for the Lord to speak back. I had been doing that for years. So it felt like I was mashing these two concepts together.
Yeah.
Where it's like journaling, but it's using the heart and language of Psalms. However, I say that, but there are Psalms that do that very thing where David speaks and then the Lord speaks, and David speaks and the Lord speaks. And I had also just sung through Song of Solomon where there was a third voice
Yeah.
in that song. So it was the woman, the man, and then the choir of maidens, which I
Mm-hmm.
thought was really cool. And I just began to sing that Out of the Woods song at the piano and express my heart. And then I heard the Lord sing back, and I did that kind of in a different range.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to hear a choir, and it felt like that great cloud of witnesses that Hebrews talks about.
Mm-hmm.
So just began to kind of weave those in and out. And at this point, I feel like there's more to be unpacked with that. And
Yeah.
so just different things I feel like I've walked through with the Lord, but very real places like this river of resistance for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's one of them. But just conversing with the Lord. And then also hearing that great cloud cheer me on
When
at
you
the same
sing
time.
these songs that you share after you've worked through them, there's choir parts, there's you speaking, there's Jesus singing, there's you singing,
Yeah.
there's Jesus responding, or him singing and you responding, and then the choir comes in to affirm
Yeah.
what's happening, and the choir is, to me, feels like the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
just kind of singing and affirming what
Yes.
truth of the scripture is that's being
Yes.
sung.
Uh-huh.
You're crying out in your parts,
Mhm.
and asking God, why am I experiencing this river
Mhm.
of resistance, for example, and
Mhm.
then the Lord responds, and it's to me, it's an experience. You want to you put yourself in it as a
Yeah.
listener,
Right.
and to me, it's very it's moving, it's life changing.
Mhm.
It causes shifts
Hmm.
in perspective, and yeah, it's like a three-dimensional worship experience to me
Yeah.
that is very much rooted in scripture and
Mhm.
rooted in truth.
Mhm.
Um, so, yeah, I mean, I'm seeing that happening.
Yeah.
Um, and then we're also starting to see what's happening in the writing worship community as we continue to dive in. This is now year
7.
7 or 8 of the mentorship.
Mhm.
2017 is when you did the first sort of mentorship with
Uh-huh.
your group of 12 women.
Yep.
We created the mentorship program curriculum, which then went out at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. So we're kind of in our 7th year or more plus of this, and we're seeing a shift towards what I'm surprised we didn't see to begin with,
Right.
but we're starting to see worship leaders who have been anchored in the mentorship, who've taken it multiple times, who've seen life change, begin to regularly invite their congregation members, their worship team, musicians, the songwriters
Mhm.
that are rising up, creatives that are rising up within churches, congregations locally, are wanting to go through this, wanting to experience this as well. They're wanting these cultures, although they've been developing.
Yeah.
I think there hasn't been a framework for people
Right.
before that,
Yeah.
where we've just literally followed this process of let's get together and let's put everybody in rooms and mix and match and see what God does. And
Yeah. So for the first time, we're putting a whole entire worship team through together.
yeah,
So they're going through in community
mm-hmm.
versus as an individual, which is kind of what we've done up until now.
Right. The
Yeah.
700 people or so through the mentorship individually, but a lot of them are leading churches and leading their congregations in worship. But so we're starting to put a framework together, I guess,
Yeah.
for churches.
Right. Right. And the mentorship will be the first step of that for them
Well,
to go through.
technically, I guess the first step is lead your small group of creatives through the 6-week book study
Mm-hmm.
of writing worship, the
Mm-hmm.
book. I think that's a great place to start, especially um, if you want to sort of test the waters a little bit and just see see who rises up and see who
Yeah.
shows interest and raises their hand and says, "Yeah, I'm actually a songwriter. I want to learn how to
Mm-hmm.
write worship songs." And if you're wanting to develop your worship program, your songwriting program,
Songwriting culture.
and songwriting culture in your church, that's a great place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if that's something that sparks your interest, contact me, contact us, and we can help put you in mentorship groups or create one for your team
Mm-hmm.
where one of the mentors that you personally mentor leads and guides the congregation, the creatives, and you through the mentorship 9-week curriculum
Mm-hmm.
online via Zoom. So it can be done with anyone, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, watch what God does.
Yeah. So that's a big shift for us, I think. I mean, the church has always been our vision, songs for the church by the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been who we are. And we've really just sort of reached out to songwriters in the church, which a lot of times are the worship leaders.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're just seeing this vision widen a little bit
Yeah.
into, hey, don't forget the church,
Yeah.
like the actual church. So how do we do that well,
Mm-hmm.
even if that seems hard or even if it seems like a challenge to figure out how to do that?
Yeah.
We're open and willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We're ready for the Lord to take us as a community wherever He wants to take us. And again, it goes back to that whole we want to leave the path behind us wider than the path we found ahead of us
Yeah.
concept.
Mm-hmm.
And we're ready to help. We've had our eyes and ears open especially the beginning of this year. And it's been wild how many people came to us asking that very question within about a 2 or 3 week period of time.
Right.
To the point where it's undeniable that it was God, you know, like, oh my gosh, another person asked us for help in this way, or we got another call about this, or
wait, is that an open door?
Oh,
or is that
a river of resistance? Which one? No, but I think we'll figure it out as we go, but it seems like the right river for us to follow right now. So even if there is, challenges, if there are challenges that'll come, we know it's the right way to go.
There's no doors in the river anyway.
Oh, good.
You just jump in. Sometimes you're flowing in the river.
Okay.
It's not a river of resistance. You're actually flowing.
True.
Towards, in some ways, we're going with what we sense the Lord leading us in.
Yeah.
And in that sense, it does feel like you're jumping in and going with the flow of that river.
That's true.
But we maybe sometimes the resistance is there to sharpen us and strengthen us as well.
Right, it is. Always.
And we have experienced a ton of resistance in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe we've also been, like, we sense the path, right, that we're supposed to go. But sometimes the resistance that teaches us and strengthens us is because we're maybe doing it the wrong way. Or we're going down the path where there is resistance, and it's like, wait a minute, no. Like, I can think of lots of things that we've done with writing worship, where we thought the Lord was leading us in this way.
Right.
But then we encountered, I guess maybe there's 2 different kinds of resistance in my mind. I'm processing this out right now.
Okay.
But to me, there's a resistance that doesn't seem to be in line with the vision, and so maybe it's a little more industry driven, or maybe the way the music industry as a whole does it. And that doesn't seem to be working. I think the church and the music industry, there's always this rub, I think, because the kingdom doesn't operate in the same way that the industry does.
Well, I think the Lord can bring resistance, or the enemy can bring resistance.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
So
there's the 2 different types.
When you feel like you feel like you're doing what God has called you to do, and there's resistance, that is to strengthen you and just for you to be able to overcome. When you feel like you're going down this path that you thought was God, but he resists you.
The enemy?
And no, the Lord.
The Lord resists you.
The Lord resists you, and there's no grace in it. The grace is gone. You can feel a difference in that kind of resistance, because you'll always have strength when the Lord has called you to do something, to get through whatever the enemy throws your way. But when you go your own way, you'll never be able to resist the Lord. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
That's kind of complicated.
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really, but I think it just comes with experience.
Yeah. And you start to learn over time what the difference is.
And have grace for yourself as if you're a young person or young in walking this out.
Yeah.
It have grace.
To every part of life.
I mean, I'm speaking to myself, really, because it's been an interesting journey for me as well, spiritually speaking and seeking him. So I'm not as quick I'm not running in that prophetic way that maybe you are as well. I'm probably a lot more in my head with things, and a lot more practical, logical in the way I approach things, which I think is a resistance in and of itself to surrendering to the Lord. So I'm learning how to surrender to the Lord, but do it in a way that's authentically mine, in my journey with him. So anyway, separate discussion.
Well, as it relates to what we're doing now, we're excited to be going this direction.
Yes.
we're excited to open those doors for other people. We believe right now, more than ever, churches are wanting to learn about songwriting culture. And this is such a great way for their voice of their community to be shared through music. There's nothing like it.
Oh.
So not only that, but I believe the gospel spreads through worship like nothing else. So it's so important. We're here right now, this side of heaven. We have this opportunity to share. We want to grab people and bring them in and help them. So I'm excited about the next season ahead of us.
Me too.
And what God has for us.
Me too.
So as it relates to our writing retreat, do we want to talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah, this is great. So October 6th and 7th is our in-person writing retreat. It's really the next in-person event that we are planning. And we still have spots open for songwriters who have graduated from the mentorship. And that's kind of, well, that's very much a part of why we do the mentorship, is for everyone to build the same foundation. And so I think people don't understand maybe why we invite mentorship grads only to our songwriting retreat. I guess it makes a lot of sense when you think about what we just talked about.
Right. Yeah. Well, I would say we didn't used to do that in the past. And we had a lot of issues in those writing rooms. They didn't always feel safe or honoring. And after a particular experience, I decided that wasn't going to happen anymore. So I feel like it's so important to educate writers and to train them up and to give them a foundation before they're in a room, in a private setting where hearts are being shared and worship is happening. Really, more than anything, the heart needs to be prepared for something like that. I don't feel like I'm stewarding well or shepherding well if I throw people in rooms with no education. So that's the heart behind why we do that. It's not, to hold people back in any way. We want to empower people, but they need to have some skin in the game too.
Yeah.
And we need to know that they've made that commitment.
And I think the number one word that comes to mind is humility.
Yeah.
A lot of times the resistance we get from people to jump into the mentorship is, oh, I'm a really experienced songwriter. I've written hundreds of songs.
Which is the exact problem in a writing room.
Yep.
That'll stop worship from happening.
Yep.
So if we can conquer that, and if people can remain teachable
Yep.
and humble, that's a completely different writing experience.
Yeah. When humble people come into the room and write together, it will change the dynamic of what comes out. And we're not talking about writing a hit song.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's not our target. Our target is not to write a song that is going to be sung by millions and millions of churches around or millions and millions of people around the world.
Yeah.
That's not our target.
Yeah.
So if you come and you're a mentorship grad, make sure you come humble and ready to serve in the room and understand that our target is, and the outcome is, that we write a song for your church community. And that's specifically, this is exciting about what we're going to be doing for the retreat. So speaking about this specific retreat, we have the targets we're going after, and is churches.
Right. Yeah. We're gonna literally have hopefully a couple from our community. I know one for sure already.
Yes.
Which we'll be announcing soon. Who are going through the mentorship, and we're having conversations and really launching this whole church concept with. These churches are already releasing songs on their own.
Yep.
But they are open to us writing for their churches as a target, which will be so fun.
Yeah.
And then we'll get immediate feedback right then. We'll do song sharing with them. They'll actually help explain the target with us before we go into rooms.
Yep.
They'll be writing with us. We'll be writing for them. And then they'll get to hear it at the end.
That's right. And so each church that we partner with, we have the opportunity to partner with 3 different organizations. So at least 2, I think, will be good to go. We're waiting on a third, which is not necessarily a church, but is an interesting partnership that has the heart and a love for the body of Christ. So that's going to be interesting. Maybe next time we get together, we can make more specific announcements about that.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about the targets for this retreat. If that's what you're looking to do, we do have space. We'll be meeting up in Franklin, Tennessee at the 4th Avenue Church of Christ. They've been wonderful partners with us for the last 4 years, and this will be our 5th year of gathering together. The previous few years we called it a conference. This is only just a retreat, so we won't be doing necessarily a conference. But the fun thing is we're partnering with the Gospel Music Association, and so on Tuesday evening, after the retreat is done, we're all going to attend the Dove Awards, and we have a discounted ticket that you can get for anybody that's coming to the retreat to the Dove Awards. So an interesting partnership with the music industry.
Right.
Which we feel is important for us to partner with.
Yes. And we love and support. And yeah, in so many ways, there's so much beauty there. So, but we're so thankful for them. GMA, they are doing awesome things. They have a great team right now.
Yeah.
That's leading them. And Jackie's a good friend. We love that whole crew. So
yeah, we do.
We're thankful to be working with them in this way.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have writing, and then we'll get to do song shares, and then we'll end with a celebration at the Dove Awards with all of us.
That's right. Yeah. It's going to be fun. We're excited about that. So a lot is happening this summer. We're preparing, and we're getting excited for, you have a growling stomach. I think you're excited for lunch.
I'm ready for lunch over here.
I don't think it'll come through on the microphone. But.
Okay. Right.
All right. Well, anything else we want to say before we wrap up this podcast episode?
I don't think so. I want to just make sure I reiterate that when I'm talking about that resistance of the music industry, it's just rejection sometimes, or it's being left out of things, or not making the mark. It's those types of things. So I never want to dishonor what good is happening in it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Okay, that's real.
I'm glad you clarify that.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that. You're talking about when you're going after something and you're intentionally pursuing something, your songwriting, and you experience that rejection. Those are natural things. That doesn't mean the doors are closed.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I just want to make sure I'm not dishonoring any people, you know, because there are some really great people and leaders and mentors around us.
We experienced that, you know, when we were working through the song selections for the Returning EP, which, by the way, everybody should listen to the Returning EP. It's out. It's been out since June 20th. All 4 songs, but that started with 250 plus song submissions. Talk about rejection. We can't record all 250 songs.
Right. There's no way.
So
it's part of it.
It's part of it.
But it'll make those writers stronger as well. I mean, it's one of those.
Yeah.
Those types of resistance where it's actually good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that the song is bad for them.
Right.
There was a purpose in that song for them to write that song. That song might have life in other areas and other places.
In other ways.
Or at the very least, it has value because it helped you to grow.
Yeah.
Towards the next song. And I'm in sales. I experience a lot of rejection.
Right.
85% rejection rate in what I do. So I am constantly throwing out stuff, constantly being told no. And that's part of it. And I know as creatives, we tend to be a lot more sensitive to the no's. And some things can pierce us a little bit deeper, and we can feel it a little bit deeper. But that doesn't mean that it's bad.
Right.
Yeah,
Bad
I think
for us.
that's what you're saying.
That's what I'm
At
trying
the
to
end of the
say.
day, we had to say no to a lot of songs,
Yep.
but we came to the songs that were right for this album, for this time, for this community, and we're incredibly excited to champion. We
Yeah.
want to champion every writer.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're not welcome at the table.
Mm-hmm.
You are welcome at the table. This is the Lord's table.
Yeah.
But it's just that song and that
Yeah.
for that time period.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, anyways, all that to say, we're thankful for the journey and to be where we are and to walk through what we have walked through and to be on this new path towards bringing more songs to the church.
That's good, Krissy.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
You too.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you next time.